to project 26 of this course. So in this video we are going to be creating a form pop-up box by just using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So the main focus of this project will be on this sign up button. So if I click on it, so here you can see it will now gives us this sign up form right here. Okay, so if you click on this X, so it will now just disappear it, and if you click it one more time, so it will now gives us one more time right here. Okay, so this is what we are going to be building in this video. So without wasting any further time, now let's jump right into our code editor and write our code. So in this video we are going to be creating a pop-up form. So for that we are going to have to create a folder, and we have to give a name of like 26 and then pop-up form. Okay, inside this folder we have to create two files like index.html and then just write like style.css, and finally we need to have our app.js. Okay, so I guess I messed up a bit. I forgot a comma. Let me just remove that comma, and now we're good to go. Alright, so now let me zoom in a bit so that we can see everything a bit clear. Okay, and let me just remove this extension. Alright, so here I'm going to create my doc type HTML, and now here as a title I'm going to write like form pop-up, and then I'll link it with my CSS file and also my JavaScript. Okay, and then I'll just hide my metadata from there, right click on it and open with a live server, and now we are good to go. So the first thing for HTML, I'm going to write a header area. So inside this header you have a div with a class of content container. Inside this content container we have like h1 welcome to the real world. Okay, and then I'll just write a paragraph and then one lorem and hit tab and save our file. And then underneath this paragraph tag we are going to be writing our button with a class of cta call to action button, and also we have to give ID of open. Okay, so as a text I'll just write like sign up, save it, and this is going to be it for the header area. So now let's create our form. So for that I'm just write like a form right here underneath the header area. So I'll just write a section, and we have to give a class of like model container, and we also have to give ID of model. Inside this section container we have to just write our model right here, but it will be a section. Okay, not model container but just a model. Inside this model we have to just write first of all our button, which will just close our model. So model content, and it will be just an X. I'm gonna also give my ID of close, and we will just provide our X right here. Okay, and then we have to just write our model content. So I'll just write model content. Inside this model content the first thing we would have is like sign up, and then we will have a form with the class of model form, and now we have to just remove this action from there, and now we are good to go. Inside this model form we have to just write our label first of all. Oh, you know what, first of all we have to just write a div. Inside this div we have to write our label, and the for will be name. As a label we will give a name, and then we have to just write our input. It will be text, and the ID will be name as well, and then we have to give him a placeholder and enter name. Okay, and then we have to just give him a class of like a form input, save our file, and now let's just copy this div from there. So now let me zoom out a bit so we can see it a bit better. So just copy this div right here. So the first thing we have is a name, then we have an email, then we have password, and then confirm password. Alright, so this was name, and now this will be, hit Control D, and D. So email, and now change this one to an uppercase E, and also this one to be uppercase E. And then now select this name, and you know I'm select this one, name, and now let's change this one to password. Okay, so now both of them will be now uppercase, and now let's select this name, and also change these to like confirm password, or you know password 2 would be fine. So I'll just give, I don't know, like password 2. Okay, so now I'm gonna select both of them, and then change this one to password, not password 2 but just confirm password. Okay, and then also change this placeholder text to be like confirm password. Save our file, and now I guess we are good to go, but the one thing is left is underneath this div, we also have to just provide an input with the type of submit. Okay, and we also have to give him a value of submit, like uppercase S, and we also have to give him a class of submit button. Save our file, and now we are good to go. So this is the result of our HTML code right here. So first of all, we just create our header. Inside this header we have a little bit of content right here. Then we create this model container. Then inside this model container we have just one model right here, and then we have a model content. Okay, so I messed up right here. It shouldn't have to be a model content, it should have to be a close and btn. Okay, it should have to be a close btn, and id will be also close, and this one will be our model content. Inside this model content we have our h1, then we have our form right here. Inside this form we have a few input box right here. Okay, so you can see that. Alright, so now let's jump right into the styling, and now let's style it a bit. So I'll just zoom in a bit so that we can see everything a bit better. Alright, so the first thing I would do is I'll just declare a few variables. So the first variable we are going to be creating is like model duration, and it will be now equals to 1 second. Okay, and I guess that would be it for now. And I don't know if we will make new variables or not, but I guess this is it for now. So I'll just select everything and then provide a box sizing or border box to it. And then we have our body, and we can just change the font family to sans serif, and margin will be not my max resolution, but margin will be 0. Then we have a transition will be transform, and then we have 0.3 seconds and ease. Okay, server file, and nothing will show up right now. So now that we have to select our header right here, so now we are going to be just writing a header, and now we selected it, and now we have to change the background image, so we have to just write a background image. So the first thing I will do is I will go to my GitHub repository and copy the image link from there, and you will also have access to that image if you want that exact same image, or if you want to place your own image, so that's going to be also okay. So now I'm gonna just grab my image from my GitHub repository really quickly, and now I've already copied that, so I'm gonna just write a URL, and then I'm gonna paste it right here, server file. And you know what, it's looking a bit ugly, so now let's style it a bit. So this is our background color, I mean like background image, and now let's just center it. Like background size will be cover, and background repeat will be no repeat, background position will be center, and server file. And this is looking cool, but we have to provide a little bit of height to it. So now for that we have to select our content container. So I'm gonna just write my content container right here. Inside this content container we have to give them a display of flex, and then we have to give them a flex direction of column, because we want everything to be center. Align items will be also center, and height will be 100 vh, server file. And this is how it looks like right now. So it's looking a bit weird, but you know what, our form is right here, and this is our header area. So now let's just style it a bit. So now I'm going to dive into our content container, this h1. So I'll just select my content container, and then let's select our h1 right here. And inside this h1 we are going to be just changing the font size to like 4 rem, and then color will be totally white. Save it. So now here you can see we have this color, but it's not looking a bit cool. So now let's provide a little bit of gradient to this background. So for that we have to just write like I don't know, I'll just write a linear gradient and comma right there, and then here I'll just write like RGBA, and then we have to just write like 0 0 0 and then 0.5. okay, and copy that. And now let's just paste it one more time right here and put a comma right there, and then let's paste it right here, server file. And this is how it looks like right now. So it's a little bit better right now. Okay, so now let's just style this paragraph right here. So this next thing I'll do is I'll just copy this selector, and instead of h1 I'll just place a paragraph right here, because we're inside this content container and we want to just select this paragraph, so that's why we put this paragraph right there. All right, so that's that. Now we have to just give them a width of like 600 pixel, and the text align will be center, and then we have to give them a little bit of margin bottom of like 40 pixel, and then we have to give them a color of totally white, and then line height will be 24 pixels, server file. And this is how it looks like right now. So now let's select this button right here, call to action CTA button. So now let's just copy this from there, and I'm gonna just paste it right here, CTA. All right, so the first thing I would do is I'll just provide a little bit of padding to it, to like top and bottom will be 12 pixel and left and right will be 30 pixel. Okay, and then I'll also provide a font size of 1.2 rem, and cursor will always be pointer because this is a button. And then we have to just remove that outline, we have to remove that border, and then we have to just provide a little bit of background color of crimson sapphire, and this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so the final thing which you have to change for this button is just a color, save it, and now this is looking cool. And you can choose whichever kind of color you like, but in my case I just give them this crimson kind of color because the main focus of this project is on this button, because I want this button to be a little bit pop-up. That's why I give them a color of this crimson right now. So the next thing which you have to do is to just select our model container, which is this model container. So now copy that. And now let's just scroll a bit, and now let's select our model container. We have to just change the background color of it to like RGB GBA, and now let's select this one and change this one to, instead of 5, so 6 will be fine. And now let's change the display of none. Oh, you know what, we are going to do that later, but not now because I want to style it. The position will be totally fixed. Top will be 0, left will be 0, and right will be also 0, and bottom will be 0. Save it, and this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so now let's just make it perfectly center. All right, so next thing which you have to do is to select this model right here. So I'm going to copy that, and then let's select our model, and then background color will be totally white, and border radius will be 5 pixel, box shadow will be 0, 0, and 10 pixel RGB. And now let's select this, and instead of 5 I'm going to change this to 3, and position will be absolute, and then overflow will be not overflow anchor but overflow will be hidden. Okay, and the next thing which you have to change is top will be 50% and left will be also 50%. Transform will be translate to minus 50%, comma minus 50% as well, and max width will be 100%. And then we have to change the width 100% to just 400 pixel. So that's once we save it, and here you can see we have our form right here. Okay, so the next thing that you have to do is to select our model content. So I'm gonna just copy that, and now let's just select that. All right, so the next thing is just have to provide a padding of 20 pixel all around. So now here you can see we have this padding right here. So now let's select model form, and then select that div. Inside that model form, so margin will be 20 pixel top and bottom, 0 pixel left and right. And now we provide a little bit of margin to that, and then let's select our model form, and then just provide a label for it. Label, I don't know why it's not showing. Okay, it should have to be label and the other way around. So display will be block, and then margin bottom will be 6 pixels. Save it, and this is how it looks like right now. And now let's select our model form and select our form input. So now let's select them, and we have to just provide a little bit of padding to that, not padding bottom, but just a padding of 8 pixel, and then the width will be totally 100%. Save it, and now it's taking its place, and this is how it looks like. All right, so the next thing which we have to change for this form is to just take this button from this place and place it right here, and then just provide a little bit of styling to it. So then I'll just select like close button, which is this button right here, this close button. All right, and now we already select that, so now let's change the background to transparent, and then border will be none, and font size will be just 25 pixel, and then position will be totally absolute. Top will be 5, just top, come on, top will be 5 pixel, right will be 0, and cursor will be pointer. Save it, and this is how it looks like. Okay, instead of 0 I'll just write a 12 pixel. Save it, and now it's looking a bit better. Okay, so if you want to provide a border, so that's going to be also cool, but in my case I'm not going to add any border whatsoever, so that's going to be there. All right, so the next thing which you have to do is to just style this button. So let me select it, which is right here, this submit button. So I'll just copy its name, and I'm going to place it right here, and then you know what, I'll just select it from manually like model container, and then submit. And padding will be 10 pixel top and bottom and 30 pixel left and right. Save file, looking cool. The next thing which you have to change for this button is to just change the font weight to bold, and then the background will be crimson as well. Border will be none, and then color, let me change the color to totally white, and the cursor will be also pointed. Save it, and this is how it looks like right now. Okay, so the next thing which you have to do is to just hide this form, so whenever we click on that button which is on the background, so this pop-up will show up, and that's going to be that. So now let's provide a class for our JavaScript. So I'll just write a JavaScript, because we are going to be changing these classes with the help of JavaScript. It's not going to be a lot of classes, but we will just select our model container, and once we have this show model, so we want to just write a display of block to it, and currently we will just change the display to none. Alright, so where is our model container? Alright, so here we have a model container, and I'm going to just uncomment it, save it, and now it's gone. Alright, so now let's jump right into the final part of this project, which is JavaScript. So do we add a JavaScript? Yeah, I did. So now let's jump right into a JavaScript and start selecting everything. So the first thing we would need is a close button. So I'll just write like a close button, and then we have our open button, and then we have our model. Okay, so we have to just grab there, and we have to attach an event listener for them. So I'll just select my const close, and it will be now equals to document get element by id, and you want to just select our close button, which is, let me just show you, close this button right here. So we provide id to it, and this is our close button. Then I want to duplicate this line of code and place it right here, and I want to change this close to, let me select both of these close, and then change it to open. Okay, so now let me show you that open. So open, which is this call to action button right here. And now the final thing which you have to select is this model. So I'll just select like model, and it will be now equals to document.get element by id and model. Okay, so now let me show you that really quickly. So this is that model right here with the id of model. Where is our id of model? Here you can see we have this id of model right here. Okay, all right, so that's that. So now let's just remove these comments from there. Okay, so now we are good to go. So the first thing I would do is I will just attach event listener to that open button. So I'll just write like add event listener. Let me just see, just write a console log close open, and then finally we have a model. Save it and open our file, and yeah, we have all these three of them. Okay, so we are now good to go. Remove it, just select that add event listener to, once we click on this open model, open button to be precise, and now we want to fire this event. So we are going to be just writing like model.classList.add this class like show dash model. Okay, and this is that class which we wrote right here. Okay, so it will just allows us to show our model. So if you click on that, so here you can see it will now show us our model. So if we click on this X button, nothing will happen, and if we click on this background, nothing will happen right now, because we just show our model, but we cannot close it right now, and we cannot just do whatever we want with it. All right, so the next event we have to add on this close button. So I'll just write like add event listener, and then once we click on that, we have to find this event right here, so which will be like model.classlist.remove and this show model. Okay, so once we save our file, if I click on there, and now if I click on this X button, so here you can see that model will be gone. If I click it one more time, click it one more time, so here you can see it will be gone. And now the final thing which I'm going to show you is if we click on this background color, so this model will not be disappear. That's because we didn't attach any event listener for that. Okay, so now let's just do that, and that's going to be the final part. So we are going to be attaching an event on the window. So once we click on the window, so we want to hide our pop-up box. Okay, if our e.target is equal to model, so this is our ternary operator, so we are going to be just removing like our class list from this model. So remove and then show model. So if that's not true, so we are going to be setting that to false. Save it, and now if you click on this button, so it will now show us our pop-up box. So if you close that, so here you can see it will now close it. So if you click on somewhere else right here, so it will also close it right here. Okay, so if you click on this form, so nothing will happen. So if you click on the background, and that form will be gone. Alright, so this is what I want to show you about this project. So I guess that was it about this project. And if you guys don't know about Git and GitHub, so feel free to skip this video and jump right to the next project. And if you guys already know about Git and GitHub and want to push your code into your GitHub repository, so now I want to just do that. If you want to stick around, so feel free to stick around. So now let me just zoom out a bit. So the first thing I will just check is I'll just write like git status, and it will just show us 026. So now let's just add the git add everything and then git push origin main. Okay, we didn't did a commit for that, did we? So let's just add that git add let me just check it first of all, git status, and now we have 3 files. Git commit for that, which will be form popup project. Okay, and now let's just push the git push everything to origin main, hit enter, and now it will start pushing up. Okay, so everything is pushed up to our GitHub repository. Now let's clear that, and now let's refresh our browser. So here you can see we have 26. So 26, so if you click on that, so here you can see we have these 3 files: index.html file and app.js file and style.css file. Alright, so I guess that was it about today's video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.